Alright, let's get this over with. Yo, I'm Dylan Martinsky, your host, and welcome to the podcast. Before I educate you about sci-fi and several works in the genre, this podcast is sponsored by gloves, whatever you don't want to touch with your actual hands. Before I educate you, let's see what you already know by asking someone who can't even color in the lines. Gabby?
Yeah?
Come here. Gabby, what do you think science fiction is? You gotta speak in the mic.
I think science fiction is like science, but not.
Nope, you're wrong. So, science fiction is a genre of literary work, but it goes so much deeper than that. Sci-fi has played a huge role in literature and film, and there have been many inspiring and entertaining works of science fiction, including the book So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, the animated sensation Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and the short story The Last Night on Earth. These works and other similar works of science fiction have been entertaining people around the world for ages, and novel arrivals like the new movie Dune are always coming up. Most of these involve advanced technology, usually set sometime in the future. From there, things can differ. There is dystopian sci-fi, where the world is in a worse situation than it currently is, and utopian sci-fi, where the world is in a better situation than it currently is. As well as hard and soft sci-fi, where in soft, laws of the universe are not followed, and hard, the opposite. For the rest of the podcast, I will educate you about and analyze the sci-fi creations So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and The Last Night of the World. Before we move on, let's give a second to our sponsor. Do you have hands? Well, then you probably need gloves to keep your shiny, clean hands safe from weather and the mold in that lunchbox that you haven't cared to open in weeks. For a limited time, you can get a free foot glove with every order over $429,726,327.79. No refunds guaranteed. Let's start with So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. It is a novel written by Douglas Adams about the adventures of Arthur Dent. Arthur is a British man who has returned to Earth after an 8-year journey through the galaxy, brought about by the sudden destruction of the Earth. Make any sense? Nope. Good, that's normal. Arthur finds that the Earth has not in fact been destroyed, and tries his best to answer his questions and fit in with society. The story has an unusual premise, as, like said earlier, it is set in a world that was so surely destroyed, and yet, at the same time, is completely fine. This is a soft science fiction because it hardly follows any of the laws of the universe, with some segments of the book following different physics, and others including translating fish. It is overall a good book, and one that I personally recommend you read. An individual who knows a lot about So Long and Thanks for All the Fish is Trek. What do you have to say about the book?
Hello, Dylan. Thanks for having me on the show. I've read this book countless times, and I've been studying it for years, and it's really satisfying to read. It's a very impressive piece of literature and a very epic demonstration of science fiction.
Thank you, Trey. Now, Mr. Peabody and Sherman is an animated sci-fi film about a dog and his adopted son. They travel through time together and encounter issues in their adventures along the way, visiting places like Egypt and Italy. In the movie, time travel in general has a negative connotation because it causes many more problems than it actually solves, and is thought about generally negatively. This is a hard science fiction story because it follows general laws of physics, and the main and only advanced technology being time travel. This is one of my favorite sci-fi films and movies in general, and one that I will not hesitate to watch again, and again, and again. Let's ask intellectual genius Gabrielle about her thoughts on the movie. Gabby, what do you think about Mr. Peabody and Sherman?
Well, I think Mr. Peabody and Sherman is a historic, fiction movie.
Okay. Another and final great piece of sci-fi literature is the short story The Last Night of the World. In the story, everyone has the same dream, which explains to them that the Earth will end. The characters, however, take the statement with a positive connotation, and none of them express fear that the world will end, but rather they are calm and by no means stressed out about the situation. It is a dystopian story because in this world, the Earth will definitely end, and it does not look like there's any visibly straightforward way of preventing it. This is a very astounding premise to the story, and a very interesting topic to think about. Let's ask around about what people would do if they were in this situation. Okay, Padre, what would you do if it was the last night on Earth?
The last evening or the last day?
It's the last day.
I would like to spend a lot of time outside, in nature. I'd try to find some good friends, and I'd enjoy the day.
All right, thank you. That was my analysis of So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, Mr. Peabody and Sherman, and The Last Night of the World. Conclusively, sci-fi is wonderful in general, and the three works above are some of the most interesting and my favorites. That's all for now. Thank you for listening.